The secret to installing one of these tower systems is to plan in advance, right? So whenever I'm telling people how to renovate a bathroom and you want custom fixtures, you want something really gorgeous and sexy, the truth is you want to do all your purchases first, have everything on site. Then when you're roughing in and building, you can have reference material other than just a diagram that might be online, which might be outdated, might not be relative to the model number that you're dealing with. So I love to have things, I'm a visual guy, I love to have it and hold it up against a wall and say, this is where I want it to go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a tower on this wall. Now, this is not a traditional shower system. This is the one that's mounted on top of a finished tile surface. It has your body jets in the hand, the rain shower, the waterfall feature, and it's right here. So let's have a quick look at it. So here we go. Now this is amazing. We just set up a new affiliate program with Wayfair. And the reason I did that is because I found that Amazon's plumbing fixtures were just very limited. There weren't a whole lot of great options. Whereas the Wayfair seems to be more focused on plumbing fixtures and they've got a ton of options, all right? So you can start to see here right out of the gate that this thing is going to be some sexy. But the important thing for me is not what it looks like, it's what's on the back, okay? And this is how they're made. It's kind of like a PEX piping, only it's a lot more like a water supply lines you see for your faucet or your toilet, right? It's a braided faucet line. And what they come with is they come with all the fixtures, and this is a 1/2 inch female, very normal thread. And all I have to do is add a 1/2 inch male thread to this, and I can connect this water supply line inside the wall, and then I just mount it. Now here's a mounting bracket here, there's a mounting bracket here, and in the case comes a box of hardware, just like a little French cleat, and I just mount these 2 little brackets on the wall, and I just set it on after I connect the plumbing. It generally is a 2-person installation, but it's really, really simple, and it gives you the flexibility at a later date to just lift it off the wall, undo your 2 connections, and then install a new one if you want. Now, on the side there's gaskets here. This is just so this rests up against the stone. It's a nice clean finish. You don't have to use silicone all over the place, and so it's kind of nice that way, right? What I want to do is I want to hold this up against my wall. I want to identify exactly where I want it to be when it's done so that I can put my marks on the wall and add wood blocking in my frame for where this is going to get mounted, because my center line is not where this stud is. So if I want my finish here, which is, to be honest with you, I'm loving that. Oh yeah. I just roll this over and I know that this is going to be here and then this one is there. Boom. Now I don't have to worry about the exact location when I'm finished, but I'm going to add a piece of 2x4 at this point and down there as well, like an L vertical to this. I'll do matte 16-inch blocks. 16-inch blocks gives me the ability to raise or lower it when it's time to do the installation, but I know I'm going to have lumber there to screw it to. One of the other secrets is to remember, because you have water lines coming up the wall, you're going to want to use a depth of a screw that's not going to go past the stone and the depth of a 2x4. So keep that in mind. One of the benefits of doing all the work yourself is when it's time for finishing, you know how you built it, so you won't go screw into a water line. That would be disastrous. You know, something like this, you'd think it'd be worth a lot of money. But the truth is, it was only $300. And we had it within 1 week of when we ordered it. Such a deal. We are going to have a link in the description below the video so that you can check out our Wayfair link and you can find great deals there too. Very careful when you're doing this. Sink your screw until the wood is pulled tight together. You don't want to leave gaps because that is a weak spot. There we go. Most of these shower towers are very similar installation. The locations for the water comes out and where the mounts go, it's going to be unique to each tower. And depending on the person and what features are, you might have it set higher or lower. So by putting in this large block, even though my wood is on my mounting plate goes right here, I have flexibility down the road in case I go with a shorter system or the mounting blocks are in a different location. I don't want to just attach this through a screw to a plug in the tile. Here's one of those situations where having your product on site is really important. I just went and checked the shower tower to confirm the 2 water supply lines that are connecting to my lines here, where their location is, where they come out, where they're comfortable. These braided lines, you gotta be careful not to kink them. Now, on the back of that tower, there's actually a little manifold there, okay? And there's a braided line hanging down like this for the hot and the cold. But it's near the bottom, okay? And so what's gonna happen is I'm going to actually have it turn up like this. And I need my water supply traveling down through the hole towards it. So I'm completely opposite of the way I am right now. So I'm actually gonna have to cut the line, put in an elbow, redirect these water lines coming down so that when I go and attach my water supply, I can have a nice comfortable curve and not risk kinking it. Wow, that is really interesting. Almost every one of these towers I've put in to date, the water supply was coming straight through the back, okay? Or we were able to put the extra braided line in the wall. In this situation, I have to redirect so as if my water's coming from the ceiling. Huh, very interesting. Now, if we were doing this in a basement, that's where the water would be coming from, wouldn't be a problem. In this situation, my water's coming from the floor. So I'm gonna adjust this to there, leave myself a panel open up for installing this later, and I'll do all the plumbing at the point of install. Now that might seem tricky, but the truth is, I have these water lines disconnected at the other end for now, so I can pull them in and out, all right? So I can do all my plumbing, push it back in the wall into position, and then I can bring my water tower in later. It pays to plan ahead and to know what your options are and to have your product on site. If this was just about any other job, I would be really in trouble when that tower came because I wouldn't have the flexibility to make these modifications without opening up the wall from the other side. So now that we're midway through our plumbing, it's time for us to establish our lines. And we've already done the check. We know exactly where the mounting is. We've got our wood in the wall. Now it's time to hook up our plumbing so that it's actually traveling up and then back down to make our connections like we discovered need to be made. What we're going to use is just a simple little PEX plumbing system. We're going to just do some additions on this with some elbows to redirect the water, because right now our PEX is facing up. That's not what we want. So for people that aren't familiar with PEX, it's basically a plastic pipe and it has brass fittings and copper rings that get crimped together to create enough pressure around the joint that it will more than withstand anything related to water pressure in the lines. We've seen tests where actually the pipe itself will explode before the joints give out. And these pipes are actually designed to expand when it freezes and not break. So you are perfectly safe as long as you're tightening up these things properly. So we're just going to take an inch and a bit of pipe. These are special PEX cutters. And if you need to buy these tools because of your situation, you can hook us up at Amazon. The link's in the description. Check out Jeff's Favorite Tools. You'll be able to find some really cost-effective PEX plumbing tools for your project. There we go. We just put on these extensions here because now, all right, we need to put on 2 rings and then an elbow. There we go. When working with the stuff, always put on your connectors, your copper rings first before you add your fittings. There we are. And then when you put them in position, just give them a pinch and that should help hold it in place. Whew. Put these ones on here now. I have always found it easier to make the connection and then cut the pipe to fit. Yep. Great. Okay. Now, can you imagine if I had done the plumbing here on copper before the unit arrived and I wasn't sure and I just went off my experience? And in my experience, all of these tower systems, the water supply line bends and comes straight out facing the back. So a lot of guys will plumb this up. They'll bring a rigid copper up, put in an elbow with a thread, and it's just mounted there on the wall, ready to roll. And then they come to put the plumbing in, they're like, oh, wow. See, because in the construction site, plumber always comes after the tile when it's finished to mount the unit. He would arrive to this and go, what to do? Because now his pipe is coming from the bottom. He can't put that extra joint in there because it's not long enough. He's going to cause a crimp. So does the plumber then say, well, let's install it with a crimp. We'll see if we get lucky. Does he add an extra length on? And then there's not enough room to stuff it all in behind, so then it creates problems there. Or does he say, hey, take the tile off the wall, I gotta open the wall and fix the copper? At least when you have PEX, you're flexible, you got options. Like I can just basically take this and jam it up in the ceiling. There we go. Now my water line is facing down. How easy is that? So now that I'm installed, right, I just go like this. And here's the best part. I'm gonna make this joint, and it's going to be installed outside the wall, lower than the tile, so even if there is a leak, it's inside the shower system. Not going to be a problem. Now these fittings are designed for 1/2-inch PEX, and that is a 1/2-inch male thread. Standard, okay? Nothing special here. The unit that comes with the shower tower is a 1/2-inch female thread, and these are standard and compatible. There we go. Shower plumbing is now complete. That's simple. Just a couple of minutes, all kinds of flexibility. And when I go to install this unit, I can go higher or lower just by adjusting this PEX line in the wall, right? You don't get that kind of flexibility with copper. Okay, well, we're finally finished all of our stone. I've yet to get the silicone on, but that's fine. We're gonna finish up the tower now. We're gonna silicone a little later. We have enough time in the day here to finish filming this video, so this is what we're gonna do. The tower, remember, last time we spoke on, we had the extensions for the plumbing done. Let me just reach in here and pull these out. Okay, there's the red line. And now, these lines are still very adjustable because I have them running through the basement and they're yet to be connected at the other end. Makes this really easy. If you don't have as flexible of a situation, that's fine. All you need to do is have this out just about 1 inch or 2. But I just find having that flexibility is amazing because these towers are heavy, and if you're working alone, they're a little difficult to work with. But here we go. Let me go grab the tower and bring it in here. We'll get it all set up. So here's the back of my tower, and I've got this connection here. It goes to the hose adapter that's going to be attached to this, and we'll do that a little later in the video. What we're going to worry about right now is getting the mounts on this wall. You can see there's a mount bracket here and one on the bottom. These mount brackets, originally this hosing, that's your water supply, it came down here on the other side of that mount. And if you wanted to, you could have brought the water supply down at the bottom and you could have brought it straight into the wall like this. But then you can see your opportunity there to work is getting really tiny. You'd have to have someone holding it up in the air while you're on your knees crawling around tightening on that, which is why I opted to bring these free, and so then I can run them like this. That's what this height is for. They also have this great little plastic doohickey on here that you can use to tighten those nuts. Honestly, when you're in behind that machine setting it up, there's not a lot of space for wrenches. So having that little addition on there really is a game changer. So what we're doing is we're going to visibly put this on the wall. And I'm going to be like, I like that. I like that height. I like this function right on that grout line. So I'm going to make a mark with my tape. That's where I want that thing. Okay, and then I'm going to just measure this sensor. This is just a little digital readout display on the back. And my mount is actually just above it. Wow, that was really handy. All right, so we're going to measure, first of all, the center of the shower, which is actually right on this line. It's really easy because of my stone that I chose. I know it's at 17.5 inches, which is great. And I'm going to make my mark for my first bracket at that height. Now all I do is measure off the distance bracket to bracket, and I can translate that information. There we go. This one you want to get pretty much exact. Okay, 37.25. All right. I should be able to guess within 3 feet here. 37.25 from that location. Bam. 17.5. There's my center line. Okay, just to be sure, I'm going to grab my laser level, throw a line on that, make sure I got it perfect. Wow, that's actually dead on. Brilliant. Here we are, we have our hardware. This is my shower wand and hose and connections. We'll put all that on the tower in a minute. But in the bag also comes with what I call my little French cleat mounting clips. Okay. So the idea is you mount it on there. This gets screwed to the wall. And then the bar on the back of the unit will come down and slide over behind it, causing it to be compressed to the wall. Nice and simple. It also comes with the plugs that I need, which are 1/4 inch number 8 screw plugs, stainless steel screws, and this is my favorite. Got some plastic washers in there. If you're working with a textured stone, you want to install one of these shower units, you might need to use one of these in order to create enough clearance to get that unit to clip on. Okay, so textured stone, sometimes you'll have to put this in behind the plate to build the plate off the wall so that your unit can still mount on top of that in the midst of all of that texture. That's there as well. That's a nice option. So here we go. So because we have our center mark, our cross line, we're going to put this up here, and we're going to use our little tiny torpedo level, which over a small area is incredibly exact, if you get it exactly on the line in that bubble. There we go. That's my installation line. Bam. Okay, and we'll just confirm that. There's 37 1/4. That was the number we were using. All right, loving it. The reason you want that perfect is there's only this little bit of area here to work with. This slope is actually what pulls the machine under gravity towards the wall. If you have them set too far apart, it'll engage with one piece and not the other, and the machine will end up wobbling around, and that's not desirable. So now we take our clips, because the back of that machine that we were measuring from actually sits right near the bottom, all right? So your overall dimension of where we roughed it in is going to be plus or minus 1/2 inch, so don't be too hard on yourself here. Let's just work with the numbers that we got. And I'm just going to mark a center line on the actual bracket so I can line it up on my pencil as well. Then I'm going to over-exaggerate where those holes are so I know exactly where to drill. This will keep everything looking relatively perfect every time. Okay, we have a beautiful 1/4 inch glass and tile bit. Nothing fancy, it's pretty simple. We're just going to go low speed on the drill, and this should grind through that tile just with ease. You hear this? That's the grinding sound of the blade, okay? All right. I'm going to get all 4 started before I wear off my tip a little bit. And then I'm going to show you a trick to show you how to keep the drill bit from getting overheated, because they will split if they get too hot. Now that we have our hole started, we don't need the tape anymore. We're just going to get our wet sponge. We were using this for grouting earlier. I'm going to put my drill bit in my tip, and I'm just going to drill while I keep it wet. Two things. That tip works great on ceramic, and you'll find that your blade will last a lot longer. It also takes forever to drill the hole. Ay, ay, ay. This is how I like to get through the mistone, because I don't have all day. And I just wet the bit. There you go. Now, I've had people telling me for years, don't use it on hammer drill. But look how fast that was. I mean, why would you not? Well, that's 2 down. I'd still be working on that first hole if I was using the other system. Yeah, I know the bits don't last as long, but how often are you going to install a shower? You can afford the $7. You don't want to be here all day messing around with making a couple of holes. if you remember, we put wood in behind these areas so that we don't have to rely on the plugs, which is what we did. We just went right through the cement to the wood. Now we can screw right to the wood. That's awesome. Probably gonna be a Phillips head. God. The bane of my existence. Okay, so it's easier to put the screw, when they're Phillips especially, into your hardware. Oh, typical. Screws aren't long enough to go from my tile through my cement board into the wood. I gotta rely on the plugs now. That's just great. Or I go get a longer screw. Problem solved. I grabbed some 2.5-inch deck screws because if you remember, you don't want to go with more screw than you need. We have 1.5-inch thick 2x4s in behind on the flat, plus a 1/2-inch cement board, plus almost 1/2 inch for tile. That's 2.5. This will not put my plumbing at risk because the head of that screw is not going to go past the plate, and the thickness of that plate plus the head is almost 1/4. So we're in great shape. Now it's just a matter of drilling that in. All right. Again, be careful you don't over tighten. Make sure your cement is nice and dry in behind. We want it stiff, but not too tight. Just until this thing stops wiggling. So here's the elbow that leads to the hand wand. This always drives me crazy. Look at this. There's a filter on the intake. I hate restrictions on my water flow. Has nothing to do with nothing. Oh yeah, baby. Now we're gonna get some pressure. Hey, that's a decent quality hose. Ha! Surprise, surprise. When the hose goes like this, it means it's a nice metal hose. If it's all kinked up out of the package, it means it's half plastic. For 50 bucks, you can get a really nice metal one. Here's my only problem. Oh, no, that's a siliconized rubber gasket. These hoses come with built-in gaskets. Very nice. Okay, so those are my 3 components, right? And this looks like this is my clamp for attaching to my tower. All right, now, just a quick word of warning. On the back of this tower, almost every unit I've ever had has a little gasket on it, okay? It's covering the galvanized edge, all right? So when you're grabbing your tower you're nice and safe. All the rest of this area, like when you're having a shower, don't reach up. This is sheet metal. It's just raw cut. When your hands are wet, if you touch this, it'll slice you to the bone. So be careful. There's no such thing as a company that doesn't have exposed metal on it. So be smart when you're installing. Make sure you're grabbing the gasket on the back. Okay, here we go. There are 2 things at play here. One is we want to attach this to the outside. Right? You see that it's cut a little bit oval? So is the threaded connection. All right, so you can't confuse that. Put that in, leave that gasket there. It's to keep the water from coming in. If you want a better look, we could put the gasket on the inside. To be honest with you, if a little water gets in, it's not the end of the world. I'm going like this because I like sexy. All these are plastic parts. Okay, so the danger here is of over tightening and breaking it. What I like to do is I like to rotate this about 5 degrees past my level, as tight as I can, and then rotate this back into position. This is where having a good adjustable crescent wrench handy is really nice. Now remember, if this comes up coming a little loose over time, which it's quite possible because of the type of materials we're working with here, everything here is a plastic fitting. So having it loose is not going to be a big surprise. It's not a problem. You lift it off the wall. Once we install it, it can be just lifted off, have someone work with you, or you can use my cheat when you're taking it off to set it down, and you can tighten up all your plumbing connections. Now, here we are. This is the supply line that goes to that wand. Okay, use my trick, roll backwards. Right there, you heard that? And then you go forward. That way you know you're not cross-threading. Whenever you're threading a plastic fitting on a plastic fitting, don't discount your own strength. You can easily cross thread that and just reef it on and think you're nice and tight, and what you've done is destroyed your seal. Get this nice and snug, moderate strength here, okay? And don't overdo it. And then pull the hose into position. That should move freely. We're in good shape. Okay, this hose here has two ends. This end is the one that sits in the cradle. Just confirm that before you go and install it, okay? Because the threading is universal and it will work on both ends. Oh. Like I was saying, go backwards. Boy, I can't even tell you all the times I've wrecked something in my life until I learned that secret. It drives you crazy. At this point, I want to have a shower tomorrow morning in here. I don't want to be wondering if I can have a shower. All right. Wrap your bubble wrap on your fitting. Tighten it up with the pliers again. Okay. You can tighten it too much and it'll break. If you don't tighten it enough, it'll drip. But you're inside a shower. Okay? So if you're going to make a mistake, err on the side of needing to tighten it some more later, because that's always an option. Replacing the part, that'll just wreck your day. Okay, so now we're ready to install this bad boy. We needed a creative table here, something with some weight. So the pail of water from when I grouted, I'll throw my hock on there. It's made of solid aluminum, so nothing bad's gonna happen there. We're just gonna lift this tower up in the air and set it there. Now I can connect. Now realize, these lines are color-coded for hot and cold, just like my water supply lines. So this should be about as simple as it ever gets. This is metal on metal, so the risk of cross-threading is not the same. If it goes 2 turns around, you're fine. Use this little wrench for some leverage. Okay, here we go. This line. I mean, I've seen situations where there'll be 2 or 3 guys working together trying to mount one of these things. It's just like, just take 2 seconds. Think about a platform you can rest your fixture on. Get on with your life. Now, we've got them hand tight. Now the fitting has the ability to put a wrench on it. Let's take advantage of it. Okay? Because this thing's going inside the wall, right? This is not a place where you want to fool around. All right, here we go. That's it. Now, now for my next act. Okay, we're gonna lift these back up in the wall. Now we don't have to have this plumbing actually in the wall. Lots of room in the cavity here for it. So let's not be afraid to take advantage of that space. And we're hanging high. We're in a good position now. Press against the wall with your knee and your hands and slide down to engage the mechanism. That's it. Now it's a little dusty, but you'll see on the side here, that gasket is engaged almost completely, which is really nice. Okay, now these systems, you'll see, there, now it's snug on. Now it's not pulling off the same. There we go. Now, inevitably people are gonna ask me, what about the big hole in the wall, Jeff? Here's the secret. If you have your fan on when you're in the shower, all the moisture that goes into the air is being pulled out of the air at 110 cubic feet per minute. You're not gonna have this wall start sweating on you and dripping in behind. If you get a little bit of moisture behind that wall, you are made with tile and cement board, okay, which will not mold. If the water actually drips in the wall cavity, the house is made of wood. It can absorb a couple ounces of water every month, every day. It can absorb a lot of water and redistribute it back into the atmosphere. Relative humidity takes care of all these issues. Don't get hung up on the details. This is a fabulous system. And for God's sake, don't pull out the clear silicone and start getting that goop all over the side of your, just to think that you're waterproofing it. That's a waste of time. It looks ugly and it'll end up coming loose because this is a wet area. And silicone that sits in that much water with something that's moving, it's gonna break loose of the seal. You're gonna not have clear anymore. It'll look translucent white, nasty. Leave it pretty, leave it like it is, all right? and enjoy it. And if it ever starts causing you problems, take the 20 minutes, half an hour to replace it with another system. What a great idea, especially when you go to sell your house. So 5-10 years from now, when I want to sell this place, I can take this, put another $300 unit on, have a brand new shower, because this stone doesn't age. But generally speaking, metals lose their polish over time, and that would be nice to update. So, if you want to see how the rest of this bathroom turns out, then click the link right here. We're going to have a playlist with all of the different elements of this modern rustic bathroom in my farmhouse. We'll see you there.